I am 78 years old, and I have spent the last month watching the dust dance in the afternoon light of this apartment, realizing I do not recognize the man who lived here. It is a hollowing thing to reach the finish line, only to discover you were never in the race. I have the diplomas, the savings, the souvenirs from dutiful vacations, but in this silence, I see I've spent a lifetime curating a museum of a life I never actually lived. I don't want your pity. At my age, pity is just another form of noise. I am telling you because I see the same vacancy in the faces of people half my age. This is the quiet admission of a man who saved all his tickets but never boarded the train. When I was in my 40s, I believed I was the epitome of prudence. I was a tenured professor of literature. I took profound pride in my analysis, in my critique. I lived within the margins of texts written by other people. I thought that by mastering the theories of life, I was building a foundation from which I would eventually live my own. I spent my evenings grading papers about great adventures and love affairs, then went to bed at 10 sharp. I told my husband Leo that we would move to the countryside once I secured full professorship. I told my sister's boy, Ben, that I'd help him build his treehouse next summer, after my sabbatical paper was done. It all sounded so logical. I wasn't being cold. I was being disciplined. Or so I assured myself each night as I lined up my books. I remember one autumn evening vividly. Ben was 10. He burst in, cheeks flushed, holding a jar with a captured firefly. He wanted me to come outside and see the whole field light up. I had a critical chapter to revise for a journal that no one but my peers would ever read. I didn't dismiss him. I just gently explained that if I finished this now, we could go camping in the real wilderness next month. I can still see the light leaving his eyes and the way he carefully unscrewed the lid to let the insect go free. We never went camping. Something more urgent always appeared. A conference, a peer review, a faculty meeting. That next month, I promised, was a fiction I authored, a story with no publishing date. This was the rhythm of my decades. I was perpetually annotating life, never reading it. I existed in a state of profound postponement. I didn't feel the loss because it wasn't an amputation. It was a slow fading. It was the way my conversations with Leo became reviews of our calendars instead of explorations of our hearts. It was the way Ben's questions turned from, "Can we?" to "Never mind. I know you're busy." I was accomplished by every academic standard. My name was on plaques, but I was a library with no central story. I was an expert on metaphor who missed the literal truth of his own life. The awakening came at 67, my retirement party. There were speeches and a leather-bound edition of my essays. I came home that night thinking, now. Now I will begin. But Leo had spent 25 years cultivating a garden of interests I wasn't in. We sat with wine and realized we had become expert commentators on the lives of others, but strangers to our own. 3 years later, Leo was gone. A sudden stroke. There was no slow-motion finale. In the stunned aftermath, I scrambled to conjure 30 years of intimacy from thin air. I tried to recite the poems I'd never read to him, but the verses felt like borrowed ornaments. I tried to propose the trips we'd discussed, but I was just talking to an empty chair. He left while I was still in the footnotes. That's when the understanding, sharp and final, cut through. It was too late. Understanding, of course, always is. I realized my life's work was a series of elegant citations of experiences I never had. Nobody at his memorial quoted my publications. They spoke of his laughter, a sound I'd often shushed because I was reading something important. I've lived in this quiet for 11 years. Ben visits on holidays. He is courteous, but there is a formal space between us, a room I designed and furnished with my absence. I am 78, and I understand now. The only things I truly own are the chances I declined because I believed they were renewable resources. They are not. Time is the one library from which you can never check out a book again. I want to tell you, with all the calm I can muster, that your meticulous planning may be your greatest tragedy. You think you're being wise by waiting for the right security, the right insight, the right chapter. But while you wait, the story is being told without you. It's in the messy joy, in the unplanned detour, in the firefly's unstudied glow. Do not devote your life to writing the preface for a book you never start. I have the book I researched, and I would burn every single one of my published pages to go back to that autumn evening and follow a boy's wonder into a field of fleeting light. My time is almost spent, and the burden of what I did not feel is infinitely greater than the weight of all I knew. If someone is offering you a moment of their wonder, take it, not tomorrow, not after the deadline. Take it now, because one day you will be sitting in a still room, and you will realize that the later you were writing towards was just a phantom chapter, while the living sentence was right there, begging for your attention. I am weary now. The light is fading, and the apartment grows cool. I've said what I came to say. If these words found a place in you, perhaps you could share something you've been saving for later. It helps to know someone is still listening to the right whispers. Be kind to your heart, and do not wait.